All right, so it's our dental class for today, December 14th. And our theme this week is around community, around belonging, around feeling a sense of belonging, community, even when we don't actually see all of our loved ones. And, we all have pretty tight bubbles these days. And as the holidays approach, I know that many of us are looking forward and not actually looking forward to being with our families and loved ones as much this year as we maybe have in other years. And so I wanted to um, really kind of come to the idea that even when we're apart from each other, there's still a deep connection through spirit with one another, right? Through our thoughts of one another, through our care for one another, through those little things like making a phone call and saying, hey, how are you doing? That kind of thing. And it can go a long, long way. And I think we all know that the holidays can be a really difficult time for people. And with the isolation, it can be even harder. And so I really encourage you to create a sense of community, even more so through our reaching out, through our care for one another during this time. So I wanted to focus on community today and that sense of belonging and being part of something bigger than ourselves. We cannot survive on our own, right? And this is why it's been so challenging for so many people during this time, because we're not built to be alone, right, for extended periods of time. So even if we are just connecting with people online, on the phone, in our hearts and in our minds, it still helps us to feel less alone. Right? So we're going to call in our people today and practice dedicated to our communities. And I have to say, I do miss our community at the studio and seeing everyone in person. It was wonderful in the summer when we did some in-person classes. Um, but I am making the best, as you are, with the situation and finding the ways of connecting that we can, like being here, doing yoga together in our own separate spaces. And there's also some bonuses to that, right? So we can hold on to what we cherish about that, right? Being able to come to yoga in your pajamas or whatever it is, and hopefully move through or beyond um, the mourning and the grief. However, I have to say that as we go through this class today and this theme of belonging and community, it may very well bring up feelings that are more challenging for you, especially if you are on your own and you are mourning the idea of being with family or friends this Christmas. So if challenging feelings come up for you, I encourage you to be with them as much as possible, to not try to push them down or think, oh, I should feel joyful in my community celebration, but to really honor what comes up for you. And that's how we move through difficult feelings, is not by pushing them away, but by really honoring them and giving them the space that they need. We're going to start seated today. You can sit in a chair, you can sit on the floor, whatever's comfortable for you, and I will see you on the mat. So take your time to get comfortable. I should also say, actually, that one other thing you're going to need today is either a blanket, or it could be a meditation cushion or a pillow. Basically, for when we're lying on our side, you want to be able to have something to support your head. So if you don't have something handy, I know most people do come to class with a blanket or a pillow or something like that, but if you haven't, then you might want to get that before we get too much into the practice, so that you've got it handy for later, towards the end. So if you're watching the replay, you just press pause and go do what you need to do and come back, but we'll continue on. So sitting with your sit bones anchored, and as much as possible, your weight is even from side to side, so you're not kind of leaning to one side or the other. And if you feel like you are leaning to one side and you feel more weight on one sit bone, see if you can find evenness. So rock a little side to side so you feel as even as possible. I always find that sitting up on a cushion really helps me. to feel more comfortable in my lower back and my hips. When I sit right on the ground, my hip flexors here, these muscles in the front of my hips, they feel like they're doing a lot of work to hold me up, and my lower back gets kind of rounded and strained. So for me, just lifting my hips a few inches is really helpful. And you can experiment with that or sit in a chair if that doesn't work for you. You can close your eyes and tune into how your body feels right now. So notice what's present. Notice what feels pleasant and maybe unpleasant, but without judgment as much as possible. And then tune into the rhythm and the flow of your own breath. So simply notice that you're breathing. And one thing that unites us all is the breath. We're all breathing. Check in with your mind. Notice any stories that may be present. Notice if your mind feels busy today or if it feels a little more dull. And then tune into how you're feeling at an emotional level. So as you sit quietly, simply notice what bubbles to the surface in terms of emotion. And that could be feeling, sensation, it could be thoughts. Just notice what comes up for you. So I mentioned earlier that whatever feelings arise, whatever feelings are present with this theme of community, allow those to flow through you. Give them space. Don't try to hold yourself to only feeling the good things. As tempting as that can be, we need to feel it all to be whole, to be complete, to be human. I invite you, where possible, to celebrate the idea of community. Even when we can't be together, my goodness, we have so many high-tech tools to help us connect. If this pandemic had happened several years ago, we would be much more isolated. So can you find ways to celebrate the ways that you can connect with community, even by joining this class, the way of connecting with community? Take a couple of deep, full breaths, not forcing or straining with the breath, but just feeling that sense of nice full in breath, nice complete out breath. And then let's add a little cat-cow motion here. So inhaling, arching, exhaling, and rounding. Feel and tune into the rhythm of your movement. If it feels uncomfortable to move with your breath, just move and breathe freely. And then maybe make that into a bit of a circular movement. Just a reminder, if you're sitting on the floor like I am, you don't need to be cross-legged as I am. You can stretch your legs out or have your feet on the floor, your hands on your knees in front of you. Just really be comfortable, honoring yourself and your own needs. Circling the other way if you're still circling. Okay, and let's come back to the center. We'll work a little bit with the neck. Today, a lot of our focus will be on the shoulders, upper body, neck area to allow us to feel the extension of our hearts out through our arms. So when we get stressed, we tend to kind of come into this sort of closed in feeling. Even sometimes close the fists and shoulders come around. So we're going to work on opening this area a little bit today, finding a little bit more space. So we'll start with the neck, taking a breath in, and as you exhale, let your chin release down towards your chest. Couple of breaths here. And then slowly lifting the head, you can turn to one side. Let your eyes continue the movement, looking behind you to stretch the muscles of your eyes. And then slowly come across, turning to look over the other shoulder. And again, keep looking with your eyes. And then come back to center. We're going to turn back to the first direction. And this time make little sweeping circles across the front of your chest. Half circles, not full circles. So we'll go to one side and then back over to the other. If it feels okay for your neck and you're feeling confident with this movement, you can make a full circle. And I say confident because if there's any issues with your neck, you want to be super careful not to let your head go back behind your shoulders. You want to keep all of the movements in this sort of forward kind of area back to neutral. If you're circling, try a few circles the other way as well. And then coming back to the center. If you're on the ground, bring your fingertips or your hand, depending on how high up you're sitting and how long your arms are, bringing them to the ground, to one side, doesn't matter which side. If you're on a chair, you can just bring your hand to the seat of the chair. Again, you want to feel both sit bones pressing down. We're going to lift up, and you can walk the hand away and or bend the elbow to come to the side and lift up. So we'll go to the side and lift. And in fact, you can bring your arm down each time so you're not creating any strain in your shoulders, reaching up and over and then back. Don't worry about how you're breathing, but do breathe. And this time when we come to the side, I'm going to invite you to stay for a few breaths. So if your shoulder prefers a bent arm, have your arm bent. If it feels okay to straighten your arm, you can reach it straight up, and that will possibly give you a little bit more stretch in the side, and then breathe into where you feel that stretch. Send your breath there. And then slowly coming back up to the center, let's bring both hands to the knees and a few more rounds of cat-cow. So inhaling, arching, exhaling, and rounding. Again, we'll return to a neutral spine. So your weight is even on both sit bones. You'll take the other hand to the chair or to the ground, lifting up the other arm, breathing in. And then in your own breath time, going over to the side and lifting back to the center. Again, don't worry about trying to breathe in any particular way. It can be really great to breathe in coordination with the movement. It helps to keep the mind occupied, and it honors the natural breath movement in the body, but it can also become very rigid and formulaic. So it's nice to just let that go sometimes, and just breathe freely and let the movements flow at the pace that feels right for you. And stay for a few breaths this time. Make sure when you're standing, you're not locking the arm and jamming the shoulder. So you want to keep the arm soft, shoulder down, and then the other arm can either reach up and really lengthen, or you can keep a little bend in that arm. You can even bring it down more if that's better for your shoulder. And then slowly coming back to center. Let's again do a few of the cat-cow movements to help bring the sides of the spine, the muscles that support the spine back into a feeling of equalness. Great. Now, if you're sitting on something or if you're sitting on a chair, you're going to want to make your way down to the ground. So if you've got something underneath your hips, you can just move that out of the way. If you're on a chair, you might come down to the ground. You could actually do this on a chair if that's more comfortable for you. Just get a little bit of a different movement. So feet a little wider than shoulders, hands resting back behind you. And we're going to work with the hips a little bit. Just after sitting, rocking the hips by taking the knees side to side. If you start to, well, you will likely start to crawl forward. You can either walk your hands forward or shift your hips back once in a while. There's squeaky spot on the floor right there. Right. And then if it feels right for you, you can come over onto one hip, letting both knees come down. The back arm is going to have to release. You can take that back arm around either to the leg that's in back or to the ground and turn to look behind you for maybe 1 or 2 breaths, lifting the spine tall. And then we'll reverse and go the other way. Both knees down. The legs can be on top of each other or both on the floor. You're going to really tune into how your knees and hips feel about this position. You'll turn either hand to the leg or to the floor and take a couple of breaths in this gentle twist. And then coming back to the center. Stretch your legs out, give them a little shake. Maybe take them side to side. And then we'll come briefly over onto all fours to get a little bit of movement in the spine. You can come into that cat and cow movement here. And then for a little more, if you like, you can stretch one leg back as you breathe in, bring it into the nose, toward the nose as you breathe out. And do that a few times on each side. And after you've done 3 or 4 on one side, you can switch and do a few on the other side. If you prefer to just stay with cat-cow, then feel free to do that. Okay, and then when you've done an roughly equal number, you don't have to keep it perfect, but roughly equal. Then come back to the center, and you can do a few circles with the hips. Either little circles staying more upright, or if it feels right, you can do a big circle coming all the way back, even taking the hands a bit forward and forward. So make your circles a way that feels good to you. Go both directions. Right, and then coming back to the center, let's take a moment in child's pose. You can either keep the knees together or move them apart, and either send the hips back to the heels or stay a little more upright. And then your weight is either on your forearms, or you can bring your head onto your hands or onto the ground if that's available for you. So we'll take a few breaths here. And when you're ready, we'll slowly come back upright. You can come back to all fours. And we're going to start to make our way towards standing. So we'll move into a standing forward bend. And you can do that either by coming to downward dog and walking forward, or if you prefer, it could be stepping your feet under you, coming up that way or coming to a squat and lifting up. So you're gonna find your way into that standing forward bend position. Let your head release. And bring your elbows up onto your thighs, which is a really good idea, especially if you have any issues of pressure in your head or high blood pressure. You're gonna come up so the heart and head are at least in line, if not the head higher than the heart. And then wherever you are, slowly release and come upright. Just let the arms dangle, let the head come up last. You'll come into a standing position. Oh, that squeaky spot again. I imagine the mic is picking it up, and I'm not sure. So feet underneath the hips here. Feel your heels go into the earth. And lift your toes and wiggle them around, spread them out, bring them down. And then we're going to rock back onto the heels just enough to feel the thighs engage. And then press into the balls of your feet. Lift your heels up. Sink back. Rock back onto your heels. Not so far that you fall over or lose your balance, but just enough to feel your thighs pulling up at the kneecaps. And then rock forward and lift. Rock back. Feel your thighs. Great. And then find evenness. So let the weight be even from one foot to the other. A little more weight into the heels, but also weight across the balls of your feet and the toes. And then we'll step a little bit wider, so maybe about shoulder distance, and soften your knees, and we'll work with the shoulders. One shoulder lifting and rolling back, and then the other. And again, you're going to let your whole body move. Let your head go, your hips go. So it's a shoulder movement, but the shoulders encourage the whole body into movement. You can go the other direction as well. Wonderful. Let's come back to the center. You can bring the feet into wherever they're comfortable. We'll take the arms out to the sides. Spread your fingers wide. And let's turn the palms up, feeling the stretch in the arms. And then roll the palms down. You can keep rolling palms back. And then up. So we're just rotating the arms and feeling how the stretch changes a little bit. Right. And then palms forward again. We'll take a big breath in and even reach back a little bit. And then exhale, cross your arms one over the other, hands to the shoulders, elbows down, head down, soft knees, upper back round a little bit here. We're going to rock a little side to side. So giving yourself a hug, really getting into the space between the shoulder blades as you breathe and move side to side here. Eventually coming back to the center, you're going to lift the upper back, lift the head. Notice which arm is on top. Open out to the sides, reach back a little. You can bend the elbows if that's more comfortable. And then crossing the other way. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed, soft knees, head down, upper back rounds a little bit. So from the side, there's this sort of rounded, relaxed position. And then side to side movement with your elbows. Just encouraging the upper back to open a little bit. Space between your shoulder blades expanding. And then coming to the center, lifting the head, lifting the chest, opening the arms wide. You can bend the elbows a little, reach back, breathing in, and then exhale to release. And we'll do a few rolls with both shoulders together. And then give the arms and hands a shake. release. And you can shake the legs a little too. Just let that go. So we'll work with a half squat now. So, and then we'll later be alternating it with a forward bend. So we're going to lift up the arms, breathing in. As you exhale, you're going to come partway down as if you're sitting in a chair, bringing the hands to the thighs. Inhale, lift. Exhale, and down. Let's stay a couple of breaths this time. So keep lifting the heart, so we're not collapsing forward. And again, if I show you from the side, this is the position we want. The tailbone is lifted, a little chest is lifted, and we're sitting down. There's a real tendency here to kind of roll around the back and be in this position. That's a strain for the lower back. This is a strengthener for the lower back. It's work for the thighs. When you're ready, we'll come all the way up, breathing in. And we're going to add a forward bend now, exhaling. Inhale, lift. Bring the hands together, exhale, sit. Inhale, lift. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, lift. Exhale, sit. One more like that, and then we're going to add on. So this time as we come to that half squat, we're going to stay here, take a breath in. As you exhale, take one elbow down to the knee on the same side. Press your palms together and look back over your upper shoulder. And then come up to the center. Reaching up, exhale, forward bend. Inhale, lift. Hands come together. Exhale, squat down. Breathe in, lift the heart. Exhale, other elbow to knee. Press the palms together and look back over your upper shoulder or elbow. Couple of breaths here. Good. Inhale, lift all the way up. Exhale, forward bend. Any version. Hands on the thighs, shins, the ground, soft knees. Take a few breaths here. Try to let your head relax. And then we'll come all the way up, breathing in. And bringing the hands together. Exhale back to the heart. Take a moment to reconnect here with this idea of community. That even though we're apart, our intentions and our thoughts are together. That we are connected even when there's distance between us. That there's a spirit connection. A connection through our thoughts, through our care, and through our very being human. Big breath in and then exhale to release. We'll take the arms out to the sides. And we're going to lower one arm, raise the other, doesn't matter which. This upper arm is going to come down behind the back. The lower arm spins so that the hand is facing out, palm out. And you can work towards bringing your hands nearer to each other. They definitely don't have to connect or touch, and really encourage you not to force or strain. Especially this bottom shoulder I find is a lot more vulnerable in this exercise. All right, and then let's release to the sides. And then the arm that was down goes up, the arm that was up goes down. You reach the upper arm down so the hand is the upper spine somewhere, the other arm reaching back, and maybe reaching towards each other, but again, honor that lower shoulder, whatever it needs. Okay, releasing to the sides, palms up, take a breath in, reach overhead, and exhale, slowly let the arms float down to your sides. So we're going to work a little bit with the eagle pose. So eagle is a bit of a balance pose, but you can do it with both feet on the ground if you like, or one foot if you want to challenge yourself a bit more. So we're going to set the arms of the eagle pose up first, and then it'll be a little easier once the arms are arranged to come into the balance with the legs, so we're not kind of rearranging things in the upper body while we're trying to balance with the lower body. So the arms of the eagle, we'll start arms to the sides, cross one arm over the other, and bring your hands to your shoulders. So this is the simplest version of the eagle arms, and if this is good for you, you can stay here. If it feels better for you to bring the arms up so the backs of the hands start to move towards each other, you can do that. And then if you still want more here and it's available to you, this bottom hand, the one that's closest to your face, could maybe reach around to your fingertips, hook your thumb. Right, so that is the full eagle arms. It's quite challenging, especially depending on how tight you are through the upper back, through the chest, how big your muscles are, how big your breasts are, all of that plays into it, how long your arms are. Right, so you find the version that works for you. Whichever arm is on top is fine. We're going to take a breath in. Exhale, come to that half squat. Now, whichever arm is on top, that's going to be your standing leg. So if it's your right arm on top, it's your right leg that's going to take your weight. You'll lift the other foot onto the toes, cross over, and then if you like, you can bring your toes down so you can balance. You want to keep both knees bent. So you're not standing up here, you're half squatting. Toes can be down, could be lifted, or maybe tucked in behind your other leg. If you lose your balance, you can always bring your toes down or come out of the pose and back in. And when you're ready to release, you'll lift the arms, you'll lift the knee, pause, and with as much grace as possible, landing. And pause for a moment. And then we'll set the arms up the other way. So whichever leg was your standing leg, the opposite arm now will come on top. So the other arm from last time. You can be in here in this simple arm position, or for a little bit more leverage, hands up, or the full eagle pose where the hands are connected. If that puts strain on your shoulders, come back to this position. Whatever works. Inhale, you can lift the elbows a little. Exhale, sink the hips down. You want to try to find a spot to look around or between your arms so that you can focus your gaze on something that's not moving. Whichever arm is on top, the same leg will be your standing leg. So opposite leg will be on top. You can come to your toes, cross over. So you want to be sitting like you're in a kind of a higher stool or chair, and either toes on the ground or hanging, or you could maybe tuck them behind your other leg. When you're ready to exit the pose, lift the leg, lift the arm, suspend there for a moment if you're able, and then slowly and gracefully, as gracefully as possible, landing. Take the feet apart, hands to the hips. Let's circle the hips a few times after that challenging standing pose. Eagle pose. In Sanskrit, Garudasana. Garuda is the eagle. Right, and then Coming back to neutral, feet under the hips. And let's just pause here. We're going to move to the floor in a moment. Find your mountain pose again. Sink into your heels, lift up through the thighs, lift the shoulders, roll them back, and let them relax down with an openness across the chest. Arms hang down, crown of the head lifts. And then in this pose that's quite strong and sturdy, find softness. Relax your jaw. Relax your face. Relax your hands. So use just as much effort as you need to stay upright. And then find softness. One or two nice full breaths. You can release with a sigh. Maybe one more. And just give a little shake. Make sure you haven't brought any rigidity into your body. And then take your time to come to lie down. So I mentioned earlier, you'll probably want to have some kind of pillow or a blanket folded up or cushion underneath your head when we get there. You don't need it now, but just so that it is handy for you when that time comes. So when you come to lie down, you can have your knees bent, feet on the floor, let your hands come onto your body so you can feel your breath. And take several breaths here, just noticing the movement of your breath. You're not trying to do anything in particular. And really just staying tuned with your breath. Nothing else you need to do in this moment. Just letting the breath go now. Of course, you'll still keep breathing, but taking the arms up now toward the ceiling, palms face each other over your chest. Reach up so you feel your shoulder blades, the outer edges of your shoulder blades lifting. Breathe into the space between your shoulder blades. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, let your shoulders relax to the ground, keeping the arms up over your shoulders. And then bend your arms to catch opposite elbows with your hands. And then we'll slowly roll the head to one side, taking the elbows to the same side. Slowly roll to center and slowly roll the other way. Continue side to side at your own pace. And then you can check in, coming back to the center. Did that feel like enough twist for you, or would your spine and organs appreciate a little bit more twist by taking the knees gently one way as the arms and the head go the other? Now you can start with a little bit of movement to really check in a little bit to each side with the legs, and if that feels good, you might go a little bit more. The beauty of yoga is we're really encouraged always to go at a slow pace and to really stay connected to what we're feeling. And when we go slowly and stay connected, we're much less likely to create injury because we notice. If we're honoring our bodies and noticing where our limits are, we can stay within our limits rather than going quickly and blowing past them without even realizing. And as you go, your body may, if it trusts you because you're honoring it, it may allow you to go further than you think. Or you may feel quite fine with the limited movement. So finding what works for you. Eventually coming back to the center. You can release the arms. Let your elbows come to the ground with your hands facing each other over your body. And then bring your knees up so that you may have to adjust where your arms are so that your hands come to the sides of your thighs. We'll open the thighs, taking a breath in, letting the hands support the legs, and then sliding the hands down as the knees come back together. Inhale, opening. Exhale, closing. And keep the elbows on the ground just to really keep things nice and relaxed. And then you can support your knees, holding them to the sides for a few breaths. If you want a little bit more challenge here, you could move the legs straighter. Now, straight is going to be a lot to stretch for the hamstrings, but they could be straighter, giving a little more stretch to the whole chain of the muscles, inner thighs, inner legs. Bent knees is also a really lovely option, so whatever works for you. And then you'll bring your knees back together. Pick up your elbows so that your hands rest on your knees. Fingers point towards your toes, towards your feet. Draw the knees in, exhale. Straighten your arms, move the knees away, inhale. Exhale, drawing in. Inhale, moving away. Right, and then you can release your feet to the floor. So for the next one, you'll probably appreciate some support under your head. So bring a blanket or a pillow, arms to the sides. So we're going to come to lie on our sides now, but we're going to do it so that we stay centered with the spine. And if you're on a mat, you stay on your mat. So you're going to lift your hips up an inch or two, and then take them a few inches over to one side. Bring your knees and ankles together and let your knees come down the other way. And then you can roll right onto that side. And here, I'm going to take my blanket, I'm going to fold it over so that my head is more or less in line with my spine. So without the blanket, I'm going to be in this really uncomfortable position for my neck. So if you don't have something handy for you, you may want to just skip this, this movement. You know, another option actually is to use your arm. So you can use the lower arm under your head. The upper arm is doing most of the work here. I find that it's just easier with some support. So whatever works for you, we're going to take that arm that's on top. We're going to make a circle around the body by dragging the fingers over the floor, over the head. So you're going to start by lifting the arm up overhead, dragging your fingers on the ground. As you come over the head, I encourage you to bend your elbow and keep it bent as you come around. And then you'll bring the arm back down by the hip and back to the other arm. Now, the reason that I'm suggesting to keep that elbow bent is because it's much easier on the shoulder. So you can experiment in your next few circles as to whether you bend the arm as it comes around. That's going to put way less leverage on your shoulder. Or if your shoulder is a very happy, mobile shoulder and you want a little bit more, you can think about keeping that arm straight. I'm a little bit out of room here, but you could drag it along the ground all the way around or lift it in the air. And again, lifting it in the air is going to be less of a stretch on the shoulder. Right, maybe on your last circle, make this next one your last one. When you come around to the side, you're going to roll right onto your back and shift your hips back towards the center. Now, if you feel like your head is being pushed forward, you may want to just remove that blanket for a moment or pillow. Bring your knees into your chest, one hand to each knee, and do a little bit of that forward and back movement. Great, and then letting your feet come back to the floor, we're going to shift the other way. So you're going to make your way over onto the other side by shifting your hips the opposite direction and then letting your knees come down so you're lying on the other side. So once you get set up on your other side, again, sorting out the position of your blanket or pillow, arms come straight out, and you're going to start making that circle overhead. So again, as you come overhead, it's helpful to bend the elbow. You can bend it quite a lot. You can take this shoulder down to the side as much as feels right for you, and then back onto your side. So again, coming around. Do a few more circles like that. And then again, next time you come into that open position, so the arms are apart from one another, you'll roll back onto your back, shifting your hips and shoulders so they feel centered again. You can either make your head support a little smaller, shorter, or move it out of the way altogether, or if it's comfortable for you, leave it as is. And then knees to chest, we'll bring the knees in and bring the knees out again. So that forward and back movement, again, we're looking to bring the hips and the spine back to balance. And then you'll stretch the legs up, stretch the arms up, circle the wrists and ankles. You can keep the knees bent as much as you need to be comfortable. If it feels easier for you to do one leg at a time, you can keep one foot on the floor and then at some point switch. And just moving the ankles and wrists, releasing any tension that may have come in there. You can take both legs and arms, give them a shake. And then knees to chest. Give a little squeeze, maybe rock a bit side to side. So we are going to move into Shavasana now. So if there's any other movement that your body wants, if it doesn't feel quite ready to relax, take a minute or two and stretch and move any way that would feel good. If you prefer to sit for Shavasana, it's not a very popular choice, but you're welcome to if you like. This is a good option if you're feeling tired and you know you need to do something more active after so that you don't fall asleep. So take your time, find the position that's going to be most conducive for you to relax. Your knees could be bent or straight if you're lying down, or maybe you want to have a bolster or blanket under your knees. The arms could rest on your body or be out to the sides. If you're sitting, hands on the thighs or in the lap, whatever's comfortable. And then once you find that position that's going to hopefully be good for you for the next few minutes, come back to your breath. Soften your jaw, let your shoulders down, let your hips sink. Just finding that place of ease and relaxation. As you exhale, let the weight of your head sink down and all the muscles of your face begin to soften, relax, and release. Let your jaw relax even more. Exhale, shoulders and neck release. Feel your arms and hands let go. Then bring your awareness to the rib cage, to the area that houses your heart. And as you breathe, imagine your heart grows a little more with each breath. Filling with the love of your friends and family, those near and far, those who support you, who care for you, who see the best in you. Breathing all of that love and support in. Filling yourself up so that when it comes time to give, you're giving from a place of fullness. And if it feels right to you on your exhale, you can also send some of that support and love out. Imagine it going out to your loved ones, wherever they may be. Sending support, love, care, tenderness. Let your belly soften. Allow your pelvis to sink down, relaxing the muscles of your buttocks, your lower abdomen, your lower back. Feeling your thighs start to let go. Your knees release. Calves and shins finding a bit more ease. Ankles and feet relaxing. And as you rest, I'll share with you a short chant that is about wishing joy and happiness and ease to others. And having the intention that our own actions, our own words, our own way of being in the world contributes to the joy, the happiness, and ease of others, rather than hindering that. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. So if you're ready to move out of Shavasana now, you can start to deepen your breath and invite a little more energy into your system. Breathing in all of that love and support still. Feeling yourself full, rich with that love coming at you. And again, just a reminder, if that's not how you're feeling, if you're not feeling joyful when thinking of family and friends makes you feel a little more pensive or sad, just honor what's there. Don't try to force any kind of feeling. You can move and stretch your body in any way that would feel good to you, and eventually rolling onto your side again. And this time using your opposite hand against the ground to support you in coming to an upright position. And as you come to sit, you can bring the hands together at your heart. And I encourage you to reach out to your friends, your family, your loved ones, check in. Often folks will say they're doing well even if they're not, and as the holiday approaches, we know that it can be a challenging time. So I encourage you to reach out and dig a little deeper and really make those connections in whatever way you're able. Whether it's phone, whether it's outside, whether it's Zoom or whatever works. To find your tribe and connect as much as you can. Namaste. Have a lovely day.